Riverdale sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes of Riverdale for you. The final 2 episodes of Riverdale in season 2.
That's right. We get a really exciting episode where like 5 episodes feel like they're crammed together, but it's all really exciting. And then there's another one.
But important things happen in that second episode.
That's true. There are, yes.
There's an important thing that happens in that second episode.
Yes. You're not wrong. It is not without its merits. But I was kind of like, this isn't as exciting as the last one, even though it's a mess. The other one.
Oh, that's an absolute mess. That should not have been one episode.
No.
I don't know why they did that.
But I had a great time with it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fun. But
Yeah.
it's just, you're like, oh, that was a little chaotic. We got a lot of ground to cover.
So we're going to jump right into the recap. All right. So, Chapter 34, Judgment Night. This episode...
That's the night you go to confession before you go to church.
That's right. They always talk about Judgment Day, but not Judgment Night. Makes you think.
It's because I don't like being out after dark.
That's do things in the daylight.
Actually, I do. I used to love, like, especially in summer, like being out in the dark, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm like, oh, it got dark?
Yeah.
Time for bed.
Gotta go to bed.
I gotta go get in between the blankets and the sheets, and I gotta go. That's my sleepy noise.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
I liked it.
Thank you. The same as my pig noise. They're identical.
Pigs are sleepy, I assume.
I was gonna make a really bad joke, and we're gonna have to cut around that.
Okay. Oh well.
I don't want to get attacked by vegans.
Fair
I don't even
enough.
eat pork.
Fill it in at home. But okay, so I'm gonna give you the background on the episode titles, but this literally could be any of you could pull in like so many different types of movies that this is pulling from, because like we said, this is like 5 episodes smashed together. But Judgment Night comes from a 1993 action thriller where, listen to this cast list: new father Frank Emilio Estevez departs for a night out, joining friends Mike Cuba Gooding Jr. and Ray Jeremy Piven as they head to a boxing match. At the last minute, they are joined by John Stephen Dorff, Frank's brother. They're stuck in gridlock traffic, and the guys take a shortcut that gets them lost. In a very dangerous neighborhood, they witness a murder by a gang leader called Fallon, Dennis Leary. They flee, but Fallon now wants them hunted down and eliminated. So, I mean, that at least applies to the ghoulies and serpents section of the episode. It was also going to be previously titled The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which is a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. He's the guy who did The Favorite and The Lobster. Yeah. It really depends on the movie that he's putting out for me to be wanting to see it, because there are many movies that he has put out where I'm like, that sounds so off-putting.
I think that's kind of his brand.
Yeah, and I think that it all just depends on like what I'm interested. Like Dogma's off the list. Like I don't, it seems like a whole lot. And then also, what's the one he did? The first one he did with Emma Stone, because then he did another one with Emma Stone immediately afterwards. They got a bunch of like award stuff.
I don't know. I've only seen The Lobster and The Favorite, I think.
Yeah, we didn't watch it. I didn't really see. It got a lot of award recognition, but I'm like, I don't know about
my reaction to The Favorite was not favorable.
Oh, right. That's true.
One of the only fights Brenton and I ever really had was the fact that I did not like that movie.
You really did not like that movie.
I did not like that movie. I thought it was mean.
It is very
I thought
mean.
it was a mean-spirited movie, and while I don't feel the need to be like kind to historical figures and like especially like wealthy historical figures, I just like didn't see the point in being mean to women. And I don't like when men create things that are mean to women. I have a lot of feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it.
So
I thought it was a waste of creative energy that could have been put somewhere more exciting.
Yeah, that gives you a good encapsulation of what the movie is, if that is going to be your speed or not.
Yeah, some people I'm sure love that. I
Mhm.
am not an asshole, so I don't enjoy it.
So what does that say about me?
Well,
I quite liked it. The movie I was thinking of was Poor Things. Oh wait, no, Emma Stone's in The Favorite. I forgot about that.
yeah, she's in The Favorite,
Yeah, she's in 3 of his movies.
right? I was pretty sure. That's why I was
Yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah, I forgot about that. No, I was thinking of Poor Things. Where she's like almost like Frankenstein brought to life or something, and then like goes and lives out in the world, but like also is like hooking up with like Mark Ruffalo and stuff. So it just seemed like it's crossing
This
some
was like
weird boundaries.
a big thing a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was always like, I want to have seen this movie and I don't want to watch it. Does that make sense? Like, I want to know,
Hmm.
but I don't know if I want to experience.
No, I'm like, there's
But let us
something.
know if you have.
Yeah,
Maybe we're just being judgy.
totally. Because my big hang up with it is like, there seems like there's something happening with disability around her that like I
Mm,
don't really want to witness.
yeah, like a disability allegory of like her being like a monster kind
Or
of thing.
like almost, or maybe not disability isn't the right word. I'll pull that back. Like childlike. That's what I'm actually looking for.
Okay, because I
So
was like,
disregard the other thing I was saying, because that is not at all what I was trying to say.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, so maybe.
No, just because it's like she's going out into the world having just been created, but it's like an adult
Mhm.
woman. But it,
Oh, that's gonna be weird, huh?
yeah. So if that's not the vibe, that's the vibe I was picking up from everything I've seen by it.
Okay.
But Killing of the Sacred Deer is like a guy who is the main character of like presiding over like his family, and it seems like it's a like spotless household, like the perfect thing. So I assume that like this guy's kind of I don't know, abuser or something of like keeping his family in line. But then there's a teenager who kind of like insinuates into his life and starts messing things up. So that could also be what's going on with the Coopers. The other movie I thought of.
Well, and Hiram's view on Jughead, like a teenager in his life that's like messing things up.
Oh yeah, that is very true. That's a good one. Yeah, I didn't thought about that comparison either.
Well, and Veronica even, like all of them kind of turn on Hiram.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good.
Thank
Um,
you.
I also thought of The Warriors, Walter Hill movie from 1979, where it's about different gangs, but like they're gangs that all dress in identifiable like costumes. So
Okay.
like the Warriors all wear like leather vests, and it's like these like red leather vests. But then there's like a gang that's like a bunch of clowns wearing baseball uniforms. Like it's from 79. It's a B movie.
Okay.
And so there's a guy who's going to gather all the gangs together, and he's going to have them work all together to like essentially run the city.
Mm-hmm.
Someone shoots him, blames it on the Warriors, and then everybody's trying to kill the Warriors. And so it's about
Oh,
them trying to get out of Brooklyn and get back home to Coney Island.
got it.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
I will say about groups wearing like matching outfits, the Ghoulies outfits in this episode are
It's
amazing.
really good. And that's where I immediately thought of it too, because when Malachi's outside and he says, "Come out to play," that's like very similar in the Warriors. There's at the end, guy's got bottles on his fingers, and he's like clinking them, and he goes like, "Warriors, come out to play," like super famous. It's
Mm.
actually Ben Horn from Twin Peaks, the younger brother.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was like, oh, I need more than the name.
yeah, not the one who reenacts the Civil War,
Got it.
but
Got
his
it.
younger brother.
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
you know what I mean? Does that ring a bell actually?
No, I don't remember shit.
Um,
I was like, no, we're just gonna smile and nod. I got no idea.
Ben Horn. Oh wait, no, sorry, I had it wrong. Richard Horn, right? God damn it. No, God, what's his name? What's his brother's name? This is gonna bug me so bad. Now I have to look this up. What is his brother's? Oh, was it Jerry Horn? Yeah, I think right, Jerry Horn. Ah, yes, there we go, Jerry Horn.
I don't remember this.
All right, never mind. That's right. It got me really frustrated. Couldn't think of his name. But either way, let's get back to the summary for Chapter 34, Judgment Night. The Black Hood chases Cheryl through Thistle House. She closes herself in her room as the Black Hood axes the door down. Cheryl escapes out the window when he goes to follow out the front door and almost gets hit by an arrow. Cheryl comes out dressed in head to toe red. It's like
She's wearing a red cloak.
That's what I was trying to think of. Because she looks like Green Arrow, but like in red.
Got a red cloak, and she's got her bow and arrow, and I love when they do archery Cheryl.
She's literally a superhero in this scene. Like in this episode, I should say.
Cheryl's like always a superhero.
Well, that's true, but I mean, she is in costume crime fighter mode, not like Cheryl and not her.
Well, like how Veronica dressed in her cat suit to go rescue her.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, she's in that like the superhero wear. Whereas, you know, in her everyday clothes with her brooch, that's mild-mannered Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
So she hits the Black Hood in the arm and he runs off. The Serpents bring Fangs to the hospital. Jug wants to go outside and get revenge, but FP stops him and tells him he needs to talk to Fangs' family. It's part of being a leader. Betty sees she has 2 missed calls from Jughead and then gets a call from Cheryl, who says she was attacked by the Black Hood and that she's going to track him into the woods. And she's calling to warn her, since now he's a wounded animal, he could go wild and he could kill anybody in his path. Betty calls her mom and says she hasn't seen her howling a little bit and warns Betty the streets aren't safe. And she's at the register making sure she reports the news because if it bleeds, it leads. Thank God. Fred comes into Archie's room and finds Veronica alone. He asks where Archie is. Archie finds the rest of the Dark Circle not dressed up, which is essentially Moose and Kevin. And he says the Serpents are going to go after Reggie and they need to find him. Fred wants to go out and find Archie, and Veronica wants to come with when Andre shows up to pick her up and take her home. Hiram makes sure that Andre has Veronica and tells Hermione she can make her statement now. Hermione worries it'll cause more chaos, and he's like, oh, it'll be good for us. Wahaha. Hiram is going out with the police, and Hermione is like, are you keeping something from me? He's like, oh, never, mi amor. He's like evil Gomez. It's like the opposite of Gomez. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the opposite.
It's all the fake flattery.
Yeah, because like he thinks Morticia walks on water.
Exactly. So what if it was all the kind words, but none of the actual action? Mm-hmm. Jughead sees Sheriff Minetta in the hospital, and he says the Serpents are stirring up chaos. FP gets in his face when Jughead escapes, away. Reggie calls Hiram and says he didn't shoot Fangs, but the Serpents think he did, and Hiram's like, well, that's unfortunate for you, and hangs up. Veronica, in her car, sees Mrs. Clump wandering down the road during the riots with a gun in her hand. Veronica gets out, and Mrs. Clump says, I may have killed that boy. Jughead gets a call from Archie. Archie says Reggie didn't shoot Fangs, and you need to call off the Serpents. And Jughead says he's on his way to help. Hermione speaks to Alice on the riot. This is her statement that she's making to Alice about the riot, and that it was brought by the Black Hood, and she offers $1 million bounty for the Black Hood, dead or alive. And Betty's like, is that even legal? And Hermione's like, well, the Black Hood shot Fangs. And Betty's like, well, you don't know. Were you even there? And then she again gets a call from Cheryl, and she says that the Black Hood escaped the forest, maybe even to the Coopers, and Betty wants to find him before everyone else does. Archie, Moose, and Kevin arrive at the school, and they hear people trashing the school, and they're like, it's the Southsiders doing this. The most important thing to do in the middle of this riot is to put a stop to them, because how dare they trash our school? And they get armed up in the locker room. Veronica calls Archie and tells him Mrs. Clump shot Fangs. She also spots her mom and Sheriff Minetta at the station and is aghast about the bounty. Archie and friends find the Serpents, and he tries to tell them that Reggie didn't shoot Fangs. Sweet Pea still blames him for everything, quite fairly, and says they also took their land and wants to burn the school to the ground, quite fairly. Principal Weatherby busts in.
Sweet Pea does attend this school, though.
Yeah.
So there's no other school to go to.
Yeah, that's true, because they're going to bust him out of town. But
yeah.
I understand.
No, I completely get the justified rage. I was just like...
But where are you going to go?
Yeah.
That's for tomorrow.
That's true. Arson today.
That's right.
Figure it out tomorrow. That's what I always say.
Okay, this is one of the wildest things that stood out to me. Principal Weatherby busts in with other faculty? ? Who are these adults? And they all go, like, they have bats, and they're like, get out of my school. It's like, what is happening? Principal Weatherby, don't you have like more important things to do?
Also, like Archie brought a bat to a knife fight, and it was like Bad News Bears, and his bat, I believe, was aluminum. And then Weatherby shows up with a wooden bat, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, we gotta go!"
Right? It's the adults. It's so funny. But yeah, I was like, that must be other faculty. He just gets all the teachers together. It's like, we got to protect the school. You don't get paid that much.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't show up. If your principal calls you and you're a teacher and they say you got to come to school so you can fight off a group of boys
In the middle of riots.
in the middle of a riot, you can say no. This is outside of my contracted hours.
Exactly. You are empowered to do so.
I recommend just not answering your phone.
Yes, exactly. You got more. You got keep yourself safe. Put on a show. Betty comes home and finds bloody rags all over the kitchen. Jughead catches up to Archie and company. Archie says the Serpents ran off to go to the Clump's neighborhood. Jughead then gets on his bike and rides off after them to stop him. Archie gets a call from Pop, and Reggie is sitting in the booth freaking out. Betty finishes cleaning the kitchen when an unknown number calls her. It's from FP asking for Jughead and that Hal got brought into the ER, and she's like, oh, I'm on my way. Veronica gets mad at Hermione for the bounty. Veronica says Hiram doesn't have the kind of cash to pay that and goes to look for her money that they took from her from the St. Clair's. She locks the door to the office while she does this and breaks into his locked drawer in his desk and finds a file named October Surprise. Now, that's my favorite drink. If you go get an October Surprise, tell them Deadheads send you. We get a little kickback.
What's an October Surprise?
I don't know. It just sounded like a drink.
Oh, I was like, is this a thing?
No. It's a bit.
I'm sorry.
It's not very funny. That's all right.
I was like, well, you worked in a bar. Maybe you know things I don't know.
No. You're just trying something. That's all right.
I'm sorry.
If it doesn't make the hour, it doesn't make the hour. And in the file, there's pictures of Hermione and...
I just feel bad.
Oh, no, you're totally fine. Inside the file, there's pictures of Hermione and Fred kissing. Attached is an article about Fred being not so innocent. Archie and Co. meet up with Reggie at Pop's. It's actually... it's going to go to Cosmopolitan. The mayoral candidate's sexy secrets. Anyways, Archie and company meet up with Reggie at Pop's. They hear cars honking outside, and they're like, Archie's like, hey, Jughead, can you get the Serpents? I thought you called him off. And he's like, I'm with the Serpents right now. And he's like, but who's outside? And it figures out it's the Ghoulies. Archie and Co. block the door.
Imagine like you get out of jail and your first thing is like, I'm going to go to this chocolate shop and I'm going to wreak havoc.
We're going to raise hell.
Even if someone was paying you, you're like, don't you want to go do something else first?
Also, like, it's a really bad look to your first thing be to attack a black-owned business. Oh, wait, is that Hiram technically? Wait, so Hiram paid them to go attack his own business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a false flag.
Everything in this episode is orchestrated by Hiram except for the Black Hood stuff.
Yes. He didn't think, he wasn't in contact with the Black Hood. Yeah, it's a false flag here. They block the door as the Ghoulies break the windows of Pop's. Pop tells Archie that he has leftover liquor. Wink, wink. Ghoulies tell them to come out to play. This is or Malachi specifically. They're all dressed up. They got their makeup on. Archie goes to the roof and starts throwing Molotov cocktails at him as the dads show up and scare him off. The Pop's crowds applaud them. Hooray!
The dads. By the dads, you mean?
Sheriff Keller, Fred, and FP. They're like, these middle-aged men are too hot. We got to get out of here. Get in our cars. Jughead tries to calm Sweet Pea down, who correctly calls Jughead out on all his failings, and Jughead asks him for an hour of calm. Here, go put this on. Veronica shows Hermione the story on the affair, and Hermione's like, well, yes, I worked with your father on this. He knows that it would just destroy Fred's campaign, and it wouldn't look bad on me at all. The woman in this affair.
Yeah. I'm running the Law and Order campaign, so it'll blow back on me, but not as badly. And I'm like...
Oh, you're so naive.
Which I think the Pop stuff is a really good metaphor for the fact that, like, Hiram's willing to destroy his own things as long as he can win. So, like, he's willing to destroy Veronica and Hermione as long as he can win. Mm-hmm. And he cares about Veronica more than Hermione.
absolutely way more. Veronica tells Hermione that Hiram's a shitty man and that he's using her as a means to an end. Hermione says Hiram would never put us in harm's way. There's a riot outside. Hiram talks to Pop on the phone, and Pop said the dads defended them from the ghoulies. A large, intimidating man walks into Pop's, and we see Hiram angry in the cop car, and then he slams his phone. The man asks Pop where Hiram lives because he's an old friend of his father's. Here he is, small fry, and now we know that the name was ironic. Betty goes to the hospital to find her dad, but finds a murdered doctor in the bed. The phone rings, and it's the Black Hood, and he's like, Betty, you have to go home so we can finish this. Alice is there, and if you don't get home in 10 minutes, she'll be hurt.
You know what's crazy about that, too, is he knew the phone number for the individual phone in his own room at the hospital.
Stab, stab, stab. Okay, that phone says extension, 211?
Exactly.
That's all it works. He's thinking 3 steps ahead. Jughead gets a call, and it's from Penny. Oh, no, it's everybody coming back to town. She has to meet him at the docks, and if he doesn't, she'll cut up Tony.
What was the salary budget for this episode?
Yeah, they put it all into this episode. Absolutely. Well, yeah. Betty comes home and finds Alice okay, having tea, and Alice wonders why Betty is acting so weird. Hal comes in and wants to show them family home movies. Hal turns on the family movies.
But Hal is showing us these sad old movies.
It's real weird. Hal turns on the movie, and it's a video of him as a kid just sitting on a stool, and his mom tells him that sinners have to die and that Hal's dad killed the Conway family and because they were sinners, and his mom tells him that he has to help his dad and make sure that Joseph Conway doesn't point out his dad as a criminal. The video ends, and Hal tells Alice to take out her tape recorder to tell his story. Great-grandpappy Cooper wasn't killed by the Blossoms. He was the killer. The Conways knew the secret and blackmailed him. Hal manipulated Joseph Conway and says he has a darkness and now lives in Betty. And Hal wasn't the killer at the debate, though. There's another Black Hood.
Murdering is a family hobby for the Coopers, apparently.
Yeah.
It's a tradition, if you will.
Passed down by the men.
Which is why I'm so confused why Betty's so worried, because it seems like only the men are murdering.
That's true.
Worry about little Dagwood. Don't worry about yourself.
That's true. Archie and Fred come home, and Archie's upset that Hiram was nowhere to be seen helping the town. Fred heads upstairs to take a shower, and Archie notices their back door is open. He locks it and goes to the kitchen when a man dressed as a black...
Imagine you found your back door open and you said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lock it, and then I'm going to look around the rest of my home to see where the person who got in is, now that I've locked them in here with me.
Yeah, that's not smart.
No.
You blocked out your exit.
Yeah.
I'm sure you locked the door on the way in.
Yeah.
Oh, Archie.
As a woman, I would never.
Yeah, the man dressed as a Black Hood jumps out and attacks Archie. They pull a gun, and Archie notices they have the same color eyes as the one who shot Fred, I think. But that's not quite right, because what they do is it flashes between the original Black Hood that shot Fred and then this one. So I feel like in the language of the show, it is saying they're one and the same, but that's not actually true.
I thought what it was doing was showing Archie can't tell, this is too close to it.
Oh, okay.
And because it's flashing between the two. So it's were this person's eyes blue instead of green? You know what I mean? But it's dark, so it's hard for him to tell.
Yeah, so more the experience of his dad being in danger too.
So I think what this is instead it's a flashback. So you can't trust Archie's memory in this, or you can't trust what Archie's seeing in this scene because it could be a memory, because he's having a PTSD flashback of being attacked. Except that in this one, the ending is different.
Right. Okay.
Which then heals the cycle for him. Because if only trauma healed that way.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to confront your fear again.
You just have to be attacked again. That'll be fine. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Nightmare. Fred jumps out and hits the Black Hood with a bat. Fred doesn't make sure that the guy's unconscious, though, and walks over to Archie, and then the Black Hood gets up and shoots Fred and runs off. And then turns out that Fred had a bulletproof vest on, but Archie runs out to find the Black Hood and finds the street empty. He learned nothing.
He's the dumbest boy in town.
Hal tells Betty that her speech at the town hall reminded her of his mom. Ew. And telling him to do better, so he picked up where his father left off to purge the town of sinners. Betty asks why he wanted it recorded, and he says he wants everyone to understand when they find us. Oh boy.
Murder-suicide.
Great. Jughead goes to Penny and Tony and finds other ghoulies. Cheryl appears out of nowhere with her bow, and Jughead says he brought backup too. Penny unties Tony, and Penny says she's back in town and partnered with the ghoulies to sell drugs, and tells the Serpents they need to get out of the South Side or they'll have to fight them at Pickens Park.
What if
at dawn.
just no one showed up at the park for the fight? These are the things I think about. Like, just
Yeah.
ghost them.
And instead they do and get their asses beat. The large man comes into the Pembroke and tells Andre he's here to see Hiram.
Okay, does no one else live at the Pembroke? I think about this all the time.
Because Hiram is Andre's the front desk.
Yeah, and so was our other guy.
Smithers. Yeah, it seems like it's empty except for them and their penthouse. Interesting. Veronica and Hermione argue when there's a knock at the door. The large man breaks it down, and it's Small Fry, and he's here for revenge for his dad. Veronica and Hermione run to the office and lock the door. Hermione pulls out a gun, and as Small Fry comes in, she shoots him like multiple times in the chest until he falls over dead. Now, Fred could have learned from Hermione here. Hermione's like, I'm going to keep shooting until you're dead.
Yeah, Hermione's not messing around.
Mm-mm. Back at the White Worm, Sweet Pea wants to go after the ghoulies, but Jughead doesn't want to fight since it's Hiram's land now. And Tony's like, but it's our land that Hiram owns. And then FP busts in and is like, Fangs is dead. But we're going to put it to a vote whether we go to war with the ghoulies. And he raises his serpent fangs and everybody serpent fangs as well, except for Jughead. It's great. Yeah, I love it.
They should have been doing this the whole time. They'll see serpent fangs when they vote.
It's so good. Alice tells Hal she's not surprised that he's the Black Hood and calls him a mama's boy and that he can't do anything right.
She's like, you're not even good at being a serial killer. And I'm like, this bitch.
It's so good. He goes and gets the fireplace dustbin, whatever you call it. And then Alice continues to taunt him until he starts to choke her, and Betty hits him over the head. At their trailer, Jughead...
Then Alice takes it and beats him.
Oh, you're right, she does. At their trailer, Jughead doesn't want them going in blind against the ghoulies, and FP says he knows and tells them they're going down fighting and he's going to rally the reserves. Hiram gets a call from Jughead. Jughead tells him you coordinated it all, didn't you? Including Penny and the ghoulies to go to war with the Serpents. I have a counteroffer for you, Hiram. And we see Hiram approaching Penny in a parking lot, and he's like, I'm listening. Hiram arrives at the Pembroke to find Andre dead behind the front desk. He runs upstairs to find Veronica and Hermione sitting at the table, and they tell him to clean up the dead body. Sheriff Keller arrests Hal. Archie and Fred walk up to the Coopers. He tells Betty that the Black Hood tried to shoot Fred an hour ago, and Betty's like, but he was here with us. Jughead calls Betty and tells Betty he loves her and that he'll see her soon, and hangs up. Jughead hands himself over to Penny and the ghoulies, and Hiram had agreed that if he did that, they would back down. Malachi then threatens to attack Betty, and the ghoulies just all beat up Jughead, and Penny's like, your sacrifice was for nothing, and I want my pound of flesh. Betty calls FP and tells him about Jughead's call. FP drops everything to go find Jughead. Hiram got the body cleaned up and apologizes to Veronica and Hermione. Veronica shows the file, and Hiram says Hermione knows the cost of winning, and Veronica says there will always be some hidden agenda with you, but I'm not going to be your collateral damage. The Serpents perform a search with Betty and Archie, and then FP comes out of the woods with a beaten-up Jughead with his tattoo and flesh cut off.
Just his tattoo, not all of his flesh.
Oh, right, yeah. The flesh where his tattoo was. The end.
It was like... What?
Like, what show were you watching?
I was like, that's not how it ended.
It's like Hellraiser.
So I have a fun theory to play with.
Ooh.
And that is that when we play with all these religious themes in the show, Jughead attempts to be Jesus. He attempts to die for their sins. He is like, I will give myself over for everyone else. I mean, it's very like hero-esque, all that stuff, but it's very, what is Jesus if not a hero story?
Traditional arc, like Joseph Campbell laid out.
But you know what I mean? But it's like, oh, I'm doing all this and I'll take all of this on to save all of you. And it doesn't work. And we get more in the second episode, but I'll just talk about it here, I guess, because if you're listening to this, you're going to hear the second episode recap. You probably watch it. But because it didn't work and it didn't save or fix anything, it's kind of like, what was it for? and like was it worth the cost? And like the way FP tells the story at the beginning of the second episode is like, you know, like it rallied everyone, but then like they didn't succeed, and it was against what Jughead wanted. And I just think it's really an interesting concept of this person who's like, I'm willing to die for this cause, but then like the cause will actually like completely collapse without you. Like dying for the cause is not the smartest or most heroic thing to do, because all you've done is left these people in a lurch, and they are not following the ideal that you had envisioned when you chose this sacrifice. I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a much more compelling than our traditional, like, I'm going to go sacrifice myself to, like, so you can go on living. But when's the, like, correct choice to, like, stay and actually, like, fight and participate with the people that you care about?
And was that sacrifice ever going to be worth it? And did you know that going in? Like, were you just looking for an easy out, or like did you honestly think that making a deal with Hiram would work? It's also very not Jughead to believe Hiram in that way.
No,
like that was a desperate reaction. And so I wish we'd seen more of the build up to Jughead getting that desperate, because I think it makes sense. Like, it's there. Like, it's like he can't find the serpents. They're not behaving appropriately. He's got to go track them down. He's got to go do this, you know. But like, we don't get enough of that because we're so focused on the 47 other plot lines that are happening at the same time.
All colliding at once.
Even the ones like with him and Cheryl, because it's like they're out to rescue Tony and all of that. And so you miss a lot of like what I think is like really interesting plot because there's too much happening in this episode.
Right, yeah. There's nothing for like Cheryl and Tony to like decompress after that even.
No. Or like you don't see Jughead ask Cheryl. And that would have been a fun conversation.
Right, totally.
I need your help. And she's like, what do you want?
Yeah, of Jughead having to go beanie in hand to Cheryl, of all people.
And Cheryl, who talks down to him, deciding to be a part of and be with this group of people that follow Jughead. Cheryl's not the leader of the Serpents.
Yeah, which would then flow nicely into the next episode.
Which one of my favorite scenes. Just because of the jacket. I just really love the red serpent jacket.
Well, and you like, yes, it's a really good jacket.
I also love when Cheryl becomes a serpent. Doesn't she at some point? Never mind.
Yeah, no need to talk there.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
At some point.
Something happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of Cheryl, though, we get her in her red coat and her.
So good.
I could go on and on and on about that, and I already have.
Yeah. Well, the fake out is so good. It's because Cheryl is, we've talked about it before, of like stepping into her power and stuff. And I think building off of last week where she was the support for Betty, now she just gets to be like, you know, she gets to be an action hero. She is actually, I think, other than like Penny, but she's like the only woman that gets to be involved in like violent, like physical, like altercations or like actions this way. Like
Betty just beat her dad over the head with a shovel.
I'm thinking of like with the ghoulie, like over the town, like with the ghoulies and things. I feel like you're right there, but I feel like there's different modes of like I'm going out to save them versus like I'm fighting for survival.
That's true. There's just a lot of Betty like randomly hitting somebody.
Yes.
That I always appreciate.
Oh yeah, I do appreciate that for sure.
So Betty and Cheryl are the two in red coats in this episode. I thought that was really interesting. So like Cheryl's got her red coat in her superhero mode, and then like obviously Betty is one of our other heroes because she's also wearing red. I think the red denotes that like this is a hero and an independent agent kind of like against what's going on, if that makes sense. Like the Serpents all wear their black and their jackets, you know what I mean? They have a look, but it's like, okay, these two technically Blossom girls are kind of like fighting for the heart of the town, and like they're in their red and they're empowered.
Yeah, the heroes of the town.
Not saying that Veronica doesn't help. I mean, finding the murderer is pretty helpful.
Oh yeah, very much so. But yeah, they're. Oh, sorry. Continue on. I as soon as I started speaking, I lost it.
It's okay. The other thing I have is the Penny being like, "I've got your girlfriend," and then it's Tony, and she's like, "Well, Betty, so last year," and I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't think to Jughead."
He's like, but I did bring the person whose girlfriend this is.
Yeah. Let me actually bring her girlfriend because she will kill you.
Exactly. You think I'm bad? Wait until you meet Cheryl.
Yeah. She makes me cry.
Exactly. I may know how to take a beating, but she knows how to dish it out.
Exactly. Verbally and with the bow and arrow.
That's right.
Nope. Okay. I thought I was going to sneeze.
Okay. Maybe one of the audience members took it for you.
Oh, that'd be very nice. Let's talk about Hal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You stupid mama's boy.
You stupid mama's boy. Hal, I can't say I'm surprised. That's how she says it. Like, you couldn't even do this right.
Oh, I love Fangs Out, Alice.
Yes. So there was lots of foreshadowing throughout the season of it being Hal. And when you rewatch it, knowing that it's Hal, you're like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. But when you watch it for the first time, you're like, I don't know. So one of the more recent ones was in the episode The Prisoners, which Betty gets a phone call and they've got Chick in the basement and she gets a phone call from the Black Hood, who plays a little lollipop song. And then Jughead's like, oh, who was that? And she goes, oh, it was my dad. And you're like, it was her dad.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It was her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a good couple ones of those where you're like, oh, okay, like it's very obvious if you know. But like if you don't know, you know, it doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. And it makes all the like obsession with like Betty and things like that as like the daughter coalesce at the end where you're like, oh, okay, that's how that's like that all ties into like why he's so obsessed with Betty.
Yes. So speaking about why he's so obsessed with Betty, like I think some of the other horrific things specifically about it being Hal, and we kind of get into Betty's trauma in the next episode, but like the real horror of it being Hal is that like this is so manipulative and obviously horrifying, but this idea that from the very beginning he was trying to isolate Betty, trying to get her away from her friends. He literally tried to kill her friend's dad.
Mm-hmm.
He made her put on the hood and go into the house where her grandfather had committed the murder. And just like those kinds of things. I'm like, oh, this is so deeply like twisted into the threads of her family and her family history. And so like when it's all laid out, you're like, oh, that actually makes sense.
Right.
Like I follow this. This does not feel like a reveal that was not planned.
No. It's just subsumed.
Yes.
By everything else. Yeah, I'm actually curious if anybody first time watching guessed that it was Hal.
I think maybe by like the end of last week's episode, it's kind of like, oh, it's probably Hal. The only thing that throws it off is that whole like, oh, there was the copycat shooter at the town hall.
Right.
But why did Hal kill Midge? Hal tried to kill Midge more than once.
Yeah, because it was
Midge and Moose in the car
shot
at them.
Because she wasn't. Were the Southsiders at Riverdale High at that point? Like, what? She wasn't with Fangs then.
No.
So it wasn't until after that she was, more of a sinner there. So
but even then, like, how would he know? Like, most of the kids didn't know.
Yeah, so maybe the initial, he's just kind of like stalking people out in there that are like, sinners in the terms of like, just having like sex, like teen horror like victims in that sense, and then followed up afterwards with the play.
But there's so many teenagers that are having sex.
Right. I think maybe they just got unlucky.
Maybe.
It's my best guess.
I also think so. There's the scene where Cheryl sees Hal at her house and she's like, go home to your family. And it's just like great and amazingly ironic because like he's killing sinners and then like he's over there with Mistress Blossom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot that when it turns out to be Hal, there's a lot that they're pulling in from white male violence and things like that. Like also that the family's going to be the way he controls the family, the murder-suicide that he's planning, but then also the hypocrisy and also of like trying to control his family and going after other people, but then also committing the same sorts of quote unquote sins.
What's weird too is like he leaves Polly out of it,
Yeah.
and that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, I guess because she's, yeah, I mean,
But she's like an ultimate sinner. She had children
right. Maybe,
with Jason.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know the mechanics of what the farm is to him
Mm-hmm.
for that to be, I don't know.
I've always thought that was a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
If,
Yeah,
Polly,
it
if
doesn't
you're
work
Polly,
there.
you're kind of like, oh, he left me out, but also like, good thing he left me out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't want to be traumatized, but also like,
Mm-hmm.
thanks.
Yeah. So yeah.
And the way he's like, oh, Betty, you inspired me, using all of like the things from her childhood, like the Nancy Drew book and things like that against her. It's just, it's really horrifically well done. And it creates this different level of trauma for Betty that I wish they focused on more instead of this darkness thing.
Yes.
Because like the idea of like your father doing this is like absolutely like unsettling. And I think they do, like, they show more of that as the show goes on, but like they play with this darkness thing. And I'm just like, why are we still talking about this?
Yeah. I think darkness is just so vague. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I wish they'd been like really blunt. Like she'd been like, oh, I feel like I have this evil inside of me. Like I feel I want to do evil things. Or you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah. And what are those things?
What are the things?
Yeah. Rather than just like, oh, I don't know.
It's very odd.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. But 3 cheers for the Coopers taking out Hal.
Yes, we love that. Also, Tom comes to get him, and I'm like, aren't you not the sheriff right now?
Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm back on the job. And he's not even sheriff, not reinstated in the next episode.
Yeah. He's even in the way, like in this episode when he goes and saves Pops, he's like, oh, I just didn't turn in my gun yet, or my car. I think he uses a shotgun.
But he got the windshield replaced.
Yep.
He probably still has friends on the force.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's done that forever.
Yeah.
They're all probably loyal to him.
Exactly, not Minetta.
But anyway, it's just funny to me. I'm like, is he a cop now?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a citizen's arrest?
Right, exactly. Just because
Who
he
did,
drives the cop
Who did
car.
the Coopers call? Did they call Tom or did they call the sheriff?
No. Call the Kellers.
Literally. But he's like, Kevin, can you send your
I
dad?
was gonna say, in old school days, hi Kevin, is your father home?
Exactly. Veronica stands up to her dad. We love it.
Yes.
We love Small Fry's. We don't love Small Fry's murder. That sounds bad. But we love Hermione standing up for herself and her daughter.
It's intense.
Mm-hmm. And this idea that it pushes Veronica over the edge, but like has it really pushed Hermione over the edge?
Mm-hmm.
And will anything push Hermione over the edge?
Yeah, you can see you really feel bad for Hermione of being stuck in a abusive relationship.
One of the things I really appreciate about the show is it shows how like disappointing being married to men can be. Like Hermione is like, oh my God, he literally is sacrificing me, but like whatever. And Alice is like, oh my God, this man can't even be a serial killer, right?
Married such a loser.
Jughead's mom had to move to Toledo, so God knows what FP was doing. And
well, being wishy-washy.
Exactly. And he's so wishy-washy, even as a leader, but we'll talk about that more in the next episode. But and then, I mean, when Madame Blossom is better than your father, you know you're in a bad situation.
Uh-huh.
And even Claudius sucks.
Yeah. Oh, he does. He suck.
So that's my summary of this episode. Anyone you want to add? Anything you want to add?
Ooh, let's see. Who do I want to add to this? Let's see. Oh, also, there's one thing because Minetta, it doesn't get brought up in the episode, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. Of Minetta being like, oh, serpents are like tearing down the town. They're the ones causing the riot. I assume, though, because the angry mob was gathered outside the sheriff's station because Fangs was getting released.
Yeah, no.
It's probably all Northsiders.
It's all Northsiders. It's not serpents.
Mm-hmm. Other than like Sweet Pea and them getting their revenge, but like, you know, the call's coming from inside the house. And then, already talked about Cheryl being a literal superhero. So, yeah, I think that's it. Yep, that's it for this one then. All right, chapter 35, Brave New World. Now, did you know this is named after the Aldous Huxley book?
I did.
Interesting.
Have you read that?
No, I never did.
I don't think I did either. I think I read an excerpt,
Oh, interesting.
but
How'd you like it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember some people did at school. There must have been the other English class.
Hmm.
Yeah, not me.
Not you.
Veronica, Betty, and Archie gather around a grave. It's Jughead's grave, and Betty tells him to come back to her. Jughead wakes up in the hospital, and it was all a dream. FP tells him that his bravery brought out all the serpents out of the woodwork, but it didn't mean anything because we got our ass beat by the ghoulies.
They need your little snake fingies.
Yeah. FP tells him Fangs is alive, and the deputy calling FP was actually a fake on Hiram's behalf. Oh yeah, I had forgotten about this, and I was convinced that FP had made up that Fangs died to get everybody to rally to go fight the ghoulies. Not so.
I thought it was so that Joaquin could get him out of town.
Oh, that would have been good too. Sunnyside Trailer Park fell to the ghoulies, and most of the trailers are burned, except for theirs.
Yeah, ours is fine.
Exactly. The set's still there. Some of the serpents defected, others were arrested, and others left town. FP says that the serpents don't exist anymore. It's so funny. This is immediately walked back.
So dramatic. Like, imagine, like, also, one, do you think Jughead's gonna believe this for one fucking second the moment he sees the other serpents?
Right.
And two, like, what the fuck, FP?
Yeah. And they're all like struggling at the White Worm, and FP's like, time to get out of town. It would have been so much more interesting if like Jughead had to like try and bring people back together.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that like opening scene is like from a earlier script.
Yeah, like a different version.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. Like, as someone who writes things, sometimes you write things and you're like, oh, that sounds really good, and then you're like, none of that fucking works anymore.
Not that. Yeah.
I don't think.
We don't have time to do all that.
Or like maybe they filmed two different kind of like scenes or versions. Kind of like how in the Pretty Little Lies Original Sin, they said there were multiple ways they filmed the whole like her like seeing the baby in the A mask thing.
Oh, mm-hmm. Right. Betty visits Jughead, and she says she never wants to see her dad again and wants to figure out how to atone for what he did. Veronica, Archie, and Fred sync up on Fred's last day before the election. She booked him a tour to visit people around the town, but Fred says people are saying the lodges saved the town, so what am I going to do? How am I going to win? And Veronica vows to help him.
Everyone's so down and out all of a sudden. And I'm like...
We'll talk about Fred being defeatist
just so
nature.
Defeated, yeah.
A little later. Archie and
Which is crazy because he just came off like catching the Black Hood.
Yeah.
The man who shot him.
And he also saved Pops.
And he saved Pops. So like this should be... And Kevin took a picture.
Yeah.
He said, Riverdale's hot dad saved the day. And so was that not put on social media? Was Kevin not sharing this?
Where's that? Yeah, where's... In Cheryl's parlance, where's the dill photo?
Exactly. And why is Veronica not marketing this?
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, a little less talking around here, a little less spreading around social media. Archie and Veronica visit Betty. Archie lays out that there's multiple Black Hoods, the town hall attack and the second Fred attack. Jughead and Veronica think Hiram is behind them, and they need to stop Hiram. Archie thinks it could be a serpent or a ghoulie. Jughead wonders if it was Sheriff Minetta. Archie has to go to the sheriff's station tomorrow to identify Hal as the Black Hood. Cheryl signs off that Nana Rose is her new guardian, thanks to her attorney, Sierra McCoy. Cheryl, she's just doing the Lord's work around town. She's really turned over a new leaf. She's the Matt Murdock of Riverdale. Cheryl walks off to deliver the paperwork to her mom, and she finds her and Claudius in the barn meeting with Hiram. Betty comes home and finds a crowd taking pictures of the Cooper house and Alice yelling at them about the Black Hood living there. Jughead gets ready for school and talks to Betty on the phone. Betty's going to stay home to take care of her mom, and she sees people still gathering outside of her house. Archie identifies Hal as the man who shot his dad and tells Sheriff Minetta his multiple Black Hood theory, but the sheriff doesn't take it seriously.
The sheriff in this scene is eating an apple with a knife, which I often associate with like, oh, hot murdery man, right? And it's like so non-sexy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, this man, I assume it's intentionally played that way. You know what I mean? Like
trying to be like big guy.
Yeah, but I'm like, you're not like a big guy and you don't have like the ruggedness of like a Tom. Like if Tom was doing that, you'd think, oh, this is a dad who camps.
Right. This
Like,
is a yeah.
like my granny used to cut the apple in her hand, and I didn't think like, oh, that's like something she's doing to look hot and sexy. But like often in
The filmic language.
in film, when you see men doing that, it's like, oh, it's this like military man or this mountain man or this sort of like rugged man. But like Sheriff Mineta gives none of that, and he doesn't sell it either.
Yeah, disappointing.
I'm like, sell yourself, man.
Give us something.
Give us a little. If evil, why hot? Like you could be that. You could be that Sheriff Mineta.
Yeah.
You gotta try though. He's
just
not trying.
Exactly.
The
Mineta's
character, not the actor. I want to make that very clear.
Mineta's not enough of a character, unfortunately.
No, it's and like I'm like that would be more fun. Like I want. We get a little bit of it with this episode, but like Hiram with all his baddies, like that's more fun.
Yeah,
Give us the villains.
Yeah, he literally has like an evil super league. It makes me think of like,
but
comic
it's like
books.
the B League. Like these people are barely going.
These people are down and out. Betty visits Fred and apologizes for her dad, and he's like, "You didn't do anything wrong." Betty feels bad for being such a good detective, but not suspecting how. I wish we got more Betty detectiving this season.
Yeah.
Kevin finds Moose crying in the bathroom. Midge's locker was trashed in the riots, and all her stuff is gone. Kevin hugs him, and Moose kisses him, and Kevin pulls away at first, but then they make out. All the candidates... Oh.
Why is it a thing in shows, in books, everywhere? It's like they're crying, and then it's like, oh.
But
there's no better aphrodisiac than you crying. And it's always like...
You at your lowest.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not like, I get it when the person who's crying comes onto the other person, because it's like looking for a distraction, kind of like making a like a snap choice. And I even get the other person letting it happen, but it's like when the person pauses, like, oh, we shouldn't, and then is like, you know what, yeah, I'm always like, this is self-destructive, maybe?
Yeah, I guess.
I think about the Arya and Jake scene. Like, there's one where he goes to kiss her, she tells him her sad story, and then he kisses her.
Oh. God bless Jake.
I miss that man.
I know.
I know he's not real, but
best boyfriend in that whole damn show.
And he could dance.
He could dance.
That line dancing episode.
Get along, little doggies.
It really gave us something. We use that horrifically often in our day-to-day life.
Happens a lot.
It happens a lot.
All the candidates withdraw from the student council race, except apparently Archie.
And Midge. Right?
Ethel.
Oh my God.
I was going to be like, Mitch is dead. I think that automatically disqualifies her. Did it again.
It's because Midge wasn't a character, and then all of a sudden she was. And so now, like, her name's the only name on my mind.
Well, here's the thing also.
We haven't seen Ethel.
Ethel is supposedly the other candidate. Ethel not seen in this episode. She has posters of her up. That is the most Ethel gets to do. It's insane.
Do you think she was, like, busy?
I don't know.
Like, was this when Stranger Things was coming out?
No. Well, which seasons was she in?
Isn't she in season 1 of Stranger Things?
I think she's also in the second season, too.
Oh.
It might have been. No, not Strange Days. First season's 2016. Second was 2017. So I guess maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be completely unrelated. They could have just been like, we blew all our budget on casting.
Yeah, and we just don't have anything to do with Ethel. But I don't know why Veronica drops out, but Archie doesn't. Bughead agreed to drop out together.
Veronica says it's because it's like full-time trying to like navigate against her parents.
But why does Archie stay in?
Because someone's got to.
I guess.
They weren't running as co, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Why not let Ethel just win then?
Because she threatened Cheryl.
Yeah, we've all made mistakes.
True, Cheryl did give Josie a pig's heart.
Mm-hmm.
We've all had weird moments.
Yes, we have. Sweet Pea and Tony tell Jughead all the Southside kids will be bused to a different school. Tony says we need to fight for the serpents at the school and at the worm, which gets Jughead's attention. Cheryl tells Veronica about her dad's visit. Veronica accuses her dad later of hiring Claudius to be the Black Hood lookalike. Hiram denies this. Veronica says it's not impossible that you'd put Mom in the crosshairs. Jughead sees a bunch of serpents living together at the White Worm. Veronica and Archie visit Betty to get her to come back to school. She doesn't feel like she can face everyone after what her dad did. Jughead comes home and finds his dad drunk. FP got fired from Pops because of Hiram. Jughead asks why FP lied about the serpents being at the worm, and FP says, I wasn't lying. The serpents are over, and we need to skip town, and we're going to Toledo to protect you. Andrews Construction is the Andrews Election Center. Sierra says you need to activate the Southside vote, and they'll vote for you, and you could win. Sheriff Minetta calls the Andrews over, and they go to the station. He tells them that the fake Black Hood that broke into their house is dead and was killed in a shootout with the police. It was Tallboy. Tallboy not seen in this. Polly visits the Cooper household. She wants to absolve Hal so they don't end up with the hate that he had. Alice doesn't want to forgive him, though. She's like, that's a good idea. Not the forgive him part, though. But wants to visit him to give her a piece of her mind, and Betty doesn't want to go. Hermione visits Veronica and says Hiram might have been involved with the shooting at the debate. There's a bit of leverage against Hiram we can use. He wants to consolidate the entire South Side into something, and he just needs the White Worm, and they need the money to block him. Veronica comes over with Sierra to Hiram to get her money back from him, and she says that she'll tell everyone about Hiram's dirty laundry if he doesn't. Archie and Jughead catch up... on Tallboy. Jughead thinks it's... I said with Tallboy. I'm like, but he's supposedly dead. He's not seen here. Jughead thinks it's conceivable since he had done Hiram's dirty work before, and loose ends are now all tied up. Penelope gets mad at Cheryl for the changing guardianship. Cheryl says she's getting ready to go to the White Worm. Penelope's be like, you can't go tonight. Cheryl then runs over to FP's trailer to get Jughead and Archie to warn the White Worm as Hiram is going to raid the place. They get everybody to pack up and leave to get to Asylum on the north side. Everyone has to sneak away as cop cars search for them, and they eventually make it there. Fred serves the serpents food the next day, and Jughead tells his dad that Toledo will have to wait. And then FP's like, you know what? A bulldog serving serpents. Well, I guess I'm not going to drink anymore, and I'm turning over a new leaf.
FP is very fickle. He's up, he's down, he's up, he's down. And I guess like that is part of his character. I guess he's like mercurial in a way. Like he's never in one way or the other. He's flip-flopping all the time. Yeah. But it's not done in like a fun, like sexy, cool, unpredictable way. It's just like, Jesus Christ, dude, get it together.
Yeah.
Which I guess really is kind of highlighting probably the trauma of having like a parent who's unfit to parent with a substance abuse issue.
Yeah.
Like it's not that FP is a bad person. It's that FP is not fit to be in the positions that he is in.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just really clumsy in this episode because it's like all super compressed of like up, down, up,
it's
down.
It's always clumsy with FP. It's always like, no, we're not going to do this. Yes, we are going to do this. Yeah, season 1's a little weird, but
yeah.
It's like FP doesn't have a character. He's just like whatever fits the scene they're writing.
Yes, exactly. Where he really did in the first season just kind of gets lost here. Mm-hmm. Jughead thanks Archie, and then Archie gets an idea. At school, everyone shows up wearing serpent leather jackets to keep the Southsiders at the school, and Principal Weatherby eventually caves and lets them all stay. Hooray!
Well, because he loses funding. What they don't talk about in this show is that school attendance is important for school funding.
So if everybody got suspended, what can you do?
And they already got rid of the school on the South Side. Who's to say they're not going to get rid of all the schools in town? Then they'll start a voucher system, and then they'll bus the kids to private schools or charter schools.
Yeah, and that would absolutely be what Hiram wants to do. Veronica talks to Jughead alone and says that Hiram is making a play for the White Worm. She learns that FP was fired from Pops, and she gets an idea to buy something else. Hiram visits the White Worm and finds Veronica there. She bought it 2 hours ago and shows him the deed. She's like, I'm willing to trade it for Pops. Hiram asks how she knew about buying the worm, and she said from the Southsiders. Hiram says, if I make this deal with you, you're cut off, and you'll sign over all your share of the lodge industries as well. Veronica
she can't.
agrees.
She's a child.
Yeah. What is all those legal things, you know? Veronica asked Betty asked Jughead if evil can be passed on. Jughead says no, and she's not evil, and that she's a good person.
He says, we all got a little darkness.
Yeah. It's whatever. Betty visits Hal. They do their best Clarice Starling / Hannibal Lecter impression, complete with a similar cell setup. I was looking at the fandom, and they literally list that it's like, this scene is a reference to Silence of the Lambs.
No shit.
Uh-huh.
They do a lot of that.
Yes. She tells him she's not like him, and he asks why she's there. And she tells him no more darkness, and he has no power over her, and leaves. At school, the student council vote is in, and it's Archie who wins. The Southside students will also remain at Riverdale High. Hooray!
Who's the vice president?
Maybe Ethel, but she's nowhere to be found. The Serpents have a big bonfire gathering. FP makes a speech to tell everybody he's retiring, but Jughead will take his place. Everybody cheers! Tony brings up a red jacket to FP, who hands it over to Jughead, and he invites Cheryl on stage to accept her jacket.
And if you at this scene were going, but why didn't Betty get a jacket yet? Me too.
Hold your horses, yeah. Since when did the Serpents become a monarchy is what I want to know. They're the leader's not democratically elected?
Well, I think Jughead, wasn't he basically the de facto leader while FP was in jail?
Yeah.
So I think he's just like, I'm officially stepping down. Because FP came back, so then it gets kind of murky.
I don't know. It just seems awful lot like, and the prince shall rise to the throne.
Well, I think because he was willing to die for him that they probably didn't have to like really.
And he tells Sweet Pea and Tony, it's like, no, you bow to no one. Makes him stand.
Is Sweet Pea Pippin or Mary?
He's Pippin, fool of a took. Betty tells her mom she went to see Hal and wants to go back to school tomorrow. At the Andrews house, awaiting the election results, Fred gets a call. And he's like, oh, I understand. And it turns out he lost. There's a knock at the door. Fred goes to answer, and it's Hermione.
How is she already there?
She came there to congratulate him on his campaign. And everybody claps. Why are they letting her off the hook?
He also is like, oh, like, how bad was it? And she's like, it was only about 200 votes. And I want to know who gave Hermione the vote count and not Fred.
See, we talked about this before the episode. And speaking of Fred being defeated, it's like he was just waiting for the call to be like, they probably just told him he lost and he hung up the phone. He's like, damn, I probably should have asked what the results were on that one. I probably should have verified.
Do we even know it was a legitimate election?
See, that's the thing. Why are we all letting her back in and we're all cheering for her? Yay, she came to congratulate him. She's still going to be mayor. And as far as we know, she's still in cahoots with her husband, who's like running the whole illegal town. Why are we suddenly like, oh, wow, good sportsmanship? There's a problem with politics.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about sportsmanship. I care about getting shit done.
Evil. She's literally attached to evil. Archie visits Hiram to break up with him. Turns out he always had a secret entrance into the Pembroke. Archie tells him he manipulated him when he was vulnerable and calls him out on all his murders. Hiram calls them delusions. Archie says it will be hard to prove, but I will, and when I do, I'll make sure that you'll pay for it, and I'm going to make my bones once and for all. Before our protagonists gather at Pop's, Veronica says the basement used to be a secret speakeasy there, and she wants to reopen it and asks if FP wants to manage it. Jughead asks about Hiram. Veronica says he must be planning some sort of revenge. At the White Worm, Hiram speaks to Penelope, Malachi, Penny, Claudius, and Sheriff Minetta, the Sinister Six. He says, welcome to the new South Side. The prison will be up soon with Claudius's drugs running through, and Penny and Malachi distributing. Penny distributing, Malachi making the drugs. Penelope asks about her brothel, and Hiram promises that she'll have it, and also promises Claudius that all those meddling kids won't be a problem because he's about to dissolve the glue that holds the four of them together.
Ironic that he thinks that's Archie.
Yeah.
Isn't Betty kind of the linchpin of this whole friendship?
Absolutely Betty. Polly tells Alice about her friends at the farm and that they might help Alice. Alice says, that sounds nice. And Polly gets a creepy smile. Bughead spends the night together at the Five Seasons. Jughead asks Betty to be his Serpent Queen, and she doesn't quite say yes, but we get the idea that she's into it. The next day at school, there's a pep rally, and Josie sings the national anthem. And as doing this, Archie spots Hiram off stage, who smiles at him. Police come in and arrest Archie for the murder of the kid who was killed on the Lodge visit. The end.
Okay. So, where to start?
Do you want to start with the jacket?
Yeah, I just love the jacket, but I think they kind of already know that. Like, I don't think there's much to add. I love this. I think it's great. I think a personalized red jacket is beautiful. I personally would want like a colorful jacket if I was a serpent. Cheryl's not going to be wearing a boring black jacket. I respect it. It's beautiful. She did not have to do a serpent dance, but she did save them all. So
That's right.
I let her have it.
I think that's a dance enough.
I think that's more than a dance.
Mm-hmm. And she's being welcomed into a family.
She's
got her first like community.
She's got a community.
It's really nice.
Besides the Vixens.
Mm-hmm.
The Vixens do her bidding. You know what I mean? She doesn't feel like she's in charge of them.
Exactly. It's not like reciprocal.
Mm-hmm. And Betty is our serpent queen.
That's right. That's pretty great. Because, yeah, you were like, what the hell?
Yeah, I was like, God damn it.
The dance and everything, and this is where we're at?
So Hiram has Archie arrested.
It's a pretty damn good ending.
It's a good ending. It's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. The lengths this man will go to punish
Teenage boys.
Reggie, being left out to drive to the rioters. Jughead, being beat
He's
up.
not punishing Reggie. He's just not helping Reggie.
Oh, that's true. He's cutting him loose.
Yeah.
Jughead, his eternal nemesis. Like, the show really focuses a lot on Archie versus Hiram, but Hiram hates Jughead.
No, he hates Jughead the most. Like, it's really more about that.
Yeah. Leaves him to get beat up by all the ghoulies.
I think that's why he manipulates Archie so much, is to try to hurt Jughead. It's also interesting because he obviously committed some very illegal things with Reggie.
Yeah.
Hiram did.
Yes.
And he took Archie. And while Hiram may not think that they're still close, like Reggie, I don't think would release Archie. So like Reggie would be like, oh yeah, this adult man like made me do X, Y, and Z to try to like help Archie. You know what I mean? It's a really stupid move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Or Reggie would absolutely stick his neck out to try and help Archie.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in the future.
I do like Archie's little confronting him and like finally calling it out and like it going full circle. And I think he's only able to do that after he's like identified the Black Hood and survived like an attack from the Black Hood where his dad saved him.
Mm-hmm.
So he no longer feels like he has to be the savior.
Yeah, that's true.
His dad took care of him.
Yeah.
And so he's not looking for someone else to take care of him.
He doesn't always have to be the one that solves everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, and also like I like it's minor. It's like, how did you get in here? It's like, I had a secret entrance the whole time, which is goofy. But
I've been using the servants like passageway, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The service passageway.
But then he's like, yeah, you don't have power over me.
Well, I like this idea that he's just been sneaking in. I mean, that makes like it's his daughter's boyfriend. Like, I don't think that's that hokey because it's like teenagers are gonna like he just uses the service elevator or whatever.
I guess it's hokey just because it's never come up before except for in this scene.
Well, there's been scenes where Archie's been in her room and like they've like been worried or they've been coming back or whatever.
I guess that's fair. It just seemed like an explanation for like how he got into the place. And also then it serves well enough to being like, you thought you knew everything, you didn't.
Mm-hmm. Hiram also just like lives for ruining things for his daughter.
Oh, absolutely.
He, much like Hal, like wants to manipulate and control his wife and his daughter and his family and all of them. And if they are not in line, they are a problem. And Hiram will go out of the way to make his daughter upset and miserable. And I think he almost enjoys when she bests him. Like, I really do think like, and this continues to grow throughout the series, like this kind of like rivalry or fight between them, this rift. And I think it's kind of fun because it's fun that she's evenly matched for him.
Yeah.
And that she's willing to take him on, and that it shows that like maybe he's not as powerful as he pretends to be if like his teenage daughter can constantly like bring like, at least get one over on him a little.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because he's the master manipulator. So if someone's trying to like outmaneuver him, like I'm sure he takes a annoying pleasure at it.
Yeah.
Keeping him on his toes, like having to do things differently.
I kind of think it's funny and repetitive. Basically, now we have Betty and Veronica who are both like don't want to be like their fathers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Jughead and Archie, I don't know if Jughead wants to necessarily be like his father, but he doesn't mind the comparison in the same way.
No, yeah.
And Archie idolizes his father again.
Absolutely. I mean, we all do.
As we should.
Yeah. Yeah, with FP it's complicated because he can let you
Jughead really sees his father as a person. Like he
Mm.
doesn't see him as a parent. He sees him as this person who has a really hard time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they do a really good job in season 1 of kind of setting us up with that like Jughead had to become an adult much too early.
Yes, absolutely. But he sees that FP's a good man that takes care of people, and he wants to embody that sort of leadership with like that's why he goes with the serpents essentially. Is like wanting to be like his father and that sense of community. So now it wraps back around where he's did you take a book?
Did.
Oh yeah.
I think I let it out before I killed it.
Oh. Keep an eye out. Now that he's fully embraced by the serpents.
Mm-hmm.
What a long way we've come.
Exactly. So now we've got our Serpent King, our Serpent Queen. We've got Veronica now owns Pops and the speakeasy underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And Archie's in jail.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All tied up with a bow.
Mm-hmm.
They really do go out of their way to like tie up a lot of things, like with like, you know, happy-ish endings. Like the student body president is Archie. Yay!
Well, but now who's going to be student body president?
I know. Locked up. Ethel.
I guess so. Is that what happens?
I don't remember anything about student body president if it comes up at all again. And yeah, the Hermione like doing the like good election handshake and everybody clapping. I'm like, oh god, eye roll.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, why are we letting her off the hook? Like she
Mhm.
did evil things too, and I understand it's like at Hiram's really the actual evil person here,
But she
like,
participates.
exactly, still culpable. The going back to your comparison of Romeo and Juliet,
Mm-hmm.
the bulldogs and the serpents break bread.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Mm-hmm. And he FP calls it out.
He does. So we get a peace
Mm-hmm.
treaty amongst them. I will say, like, was Jughead and the serpents, are they really willing to give up the white worm for a speakeasy under Pops?
Yeah, it's interesting.
I thought there was maybe like some ploy, like where like she was lying about actually owning the worm,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know.
Yeah, when she was like, I think I have a better idea.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, it's
Maybe
it
because they all have to go to the north side anyway. They're like, oh, we might as well have Pops instead.
because their little houses got burned down.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is when they're leaving. So in the episode before this, when FP goes to rescue Jughead, he gets on his motorcycle and he goes across a bridge. And I swear to God, besides the scene where they shoot the Black Hood, this is the only time we've ever been on a bridge on this show. And I realized as we were watching this episode that it's the bridge between the north and the south side, and the bridge separates the north and the south side. So they cross this bridge over to the north side, and they all cross it together. And so like it's like a symbol of like them leaving the south side, like they are no longer a part of that,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like having to let that go. But I thought that was like really funny symbolism to like throw in now, and I'm like, have I missed it this whole time, or has
Right.
it like always been there?
I just don't think it's been around
Yeah.
to throw religious symbolism on top of it. It's Moses leading them out of Egypt.
Except it's Cheryl and Jughead.
Exactly.
Which one's Moses? Cheryl?
I'm trying to think who would not get into Canaan. I guess probably Cheryl. Maybe Jughead.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting that we got that now.
Yeah. I think one of the problems with the show with the serpents is not really grounding us in their. We've talked about it before of like their life and what the South Side is and what that means to people and things. So then, yeah, you don't get a reaction of like, wait, but the white worm is no longer ours. Like, what does that mean? We don't no longer have homes. We don't get any reaction on that. Where are we gonna live?
Uh-huh.
The serpents are the Southsiders are not the focus in the same way of the show, and it
Mhm.
doesn't makes things not work as well. It's more just like ornamental of like, here's the serpents, and that's it.
Yeah, it's also like, are there houses on the south side? Are there people who live on the south side that aren't serpents? Like, what's going on over there? What else do they have? Or is it literally just like a bunch of empty land, drive-in movie theater, and then the trailer park?
Yeah,
And if so, then why was there a high school over there?
right, exactly.
How many kids were really going there?
It's I think for most of the Northsiders, we have parents,
Mhm.
and I don't think we have any for any of the Southsiders or the serpents. Like there's none for Sweet Pea, Tony's
Fangs. Grandfather.
Yeah, we get a grandfather. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually true. Never mind.
But is that also intentional? Are these children joining because they don't have community and family?
Right.
Or are there family and like are they like Jughead where they've been brought up in it? Like I think there's both. Because we talk when they FP joined the Serpents really young. You know what I mean? Like they talk about that. So.
Mm-hmm. But like where are they from then?
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know. So they don't. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think it works quite as well when you're like speaking about the South Side. It's more just like this representation of like the poor community at odds with the rich community on the North Side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I thought the finale, like in comparison, like because I like how they do it in the show of like the big reveal is essentially in the penultimate episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think this wrap up is as interesting as the previous one of like where do we go from here, and which culminates with like Betty like speaking to the town, of being like we have to do better. I don't think there's any quite tight bow for that here. I mean, there are some things, and I think, but I mentioned also just kind of being annoyed at some of the more not melodramatic, but like overly sentimental. Some of the vibe on it, it's like everything's kind of working out, yay! That doesn't work for me. So,
well, I think that's like it's supposed to be a false hope thing, because then Archie gets taken, so our rug gets ripped out from underneath us.
Right, everything is not okay. Well, exactly, because Hiram's still around, Hermione's still the mayor. The South Side is still all bought up.
There's lots of ways to obviously write a story, but like one of the more famous like ways to outline a story, there's kind of in like you have like a false victory, and so everyone feels good, and then you like pull the rug out, and so I assume that's kind of what they're playing with here.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it gets you that what's it called? When you're like waiting for
you had like that anxiety, that like waiting for something to go wrong.
Oh, this is gonna drive me nuts though. Like at end of a season, when it's like, oh, and I can't wait to come back to see how this resolves in the next season of a TV show.
Like a cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger. Thank you. Couldn't think of it.
It was like
all I could think of was plot hole. I'm like, it's not a plot hole because there's no resolution yet.
Totally.
Yeah, but I think I like the frenetic pacing of the other one, even though it's a goddamn mess. A little better than the finale.
I see that.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
That's it. So next week we start Sabrina, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. We'll just watch the first episode. So very excited for that.
I'm very excited.
Yeah. So check it back in for that, and we'll go on our little detour to watch the first season, and then we'll be back for season 3 of Riverdale.
Sounds good.
And you can find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms of choice at Dead Ends. You can also find us on YouTube at dead_ends, where you can see the video version. Give us 5 stars, rate, review us. It helps us a lot. Give us thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that good things. Definitely helps the podcast. You can also send us questions or just comments or like things you have that you want to talk about the show to deadendspcast@gmail.com, or leave a comment on the YouTube. Those are the 2 places we check, and we'll respond to you there, or we'll bring it up on the episode. And you can also follow us on Blue Sky at dead-ends. Where we'll post episode stuff and screen caps and all that good things.
All right. Well, we don't fit in.
We're not gonna fit in. We'll have to come up with a new tagline for next week.
Yeah, and we love you.
We love you so much.